Okay, in this lesson, we're going to learn how to emit events, and we're going to use an example of deleting an item to show how this works. So we want to be able to delete one of these habits. I'll start by adding a delete button down in habit item. I've added a container around our edit button and added some styles so that I can add in another button below that, and I'll put delete as the label. So you can see that new button now appears under each item. So how do we set it up so that clicking this button actually deletes the item? Well, we're going to need some sort of an event handler on this button, a click handler, right? And we'll say console.log delete. And I often will just set up a console.log just to make sure things are hooked up correctly. So let's click delete, and we see delete, log to the console. Okay, so we know that that's working, but we need to actually delete the item from the habits array, the original data source, in order to have it be truly deleted. But habit item doesn't actually know about the habits array. It needs to communicate up to habit group, which does have a reference to the habits array and could delete the item. So how do we do this communication? Well, I want to mention the way that this would work in React, because a lot of people come from React, they try to do it the React way, which actually will work, but there's sort of a different way we tend to do this in Imba. So the React way to do it would be to define a function like delete item, def delete item, maybe add a specific index. I'll just put console.log deleted for now, but we'll actually implement this method later. And then you would say something like on delete equals delete item. And so you're actually passing in the event handler for habit item from habit group. You're passing down a function. Then you would go back to habit item, and for this where it says click, you would call that new prop that's being passed in. In Imba, we tend to do this a different way. So I'm going to delete this. What we tend to do instead is to emit events. So down here in habit item, instead of console.log delete, I'm going to type emit. And emit is a special Imba function that will emit a custom event. And the name of the event will be this string that we give it. So I'll say delete item. Now that I'm calling emit here, whenever delete is clicked, emit is called, and that means a custom event will be emitted, and we can handle that event up here within habit group on habit item, because habit item is what emits the event. So we can handle it just like we would any other event. Delete item, and then again I'll just use console.log to make sure this works. So I'll click on delete, and it's working. So the event is emitted and then handled right here. And so what we'll do here is actually call the delete item function, and we need to pass it an index, otherwise it's not going to know which of the items to delete. So we need to get that index, which we can do by adding an I variable to our loop to store the index for each item as it iterates through, and we'll pass that into delete item. So this method, delete item, currently just logs deleted, and let's put index here too to make sure that that's getting passed through. So deleted 0, deleted 1. Now all that's left to do is to actually delete the item. So instead of pretending that we're doing it with console.log, we could say habits.splice index, 1. So the JavaScript splice method will remove items from an array, starting at an index and going for a given amount of items, in this case just 1. So now when I click delete, it actually deletes it. And we can delete another one. Great.